People are already starting to ask the question, is Mike Woodson on the hot seat this year?
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. It is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen each and every day. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more as playoffs wind down. The sport stops sporting like we want them to, but this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Well, again, thank you so much for being here. Shout out to all of my everydayers, those of you that show up each and every day, whether you're on audio, whether you're on video. I see you, I hear you, and most importantly, I appreciate you. And as we get through this week, people are already starting to ask the question and ponder on this a little bit. Is Mike Woodson going into 2024-2025 for Indiana basketball, is he on the hot seat? I've got thoughts on this. I know you've got thoughts on this. We'll dive into this today. Plus, August 31st, which is in just a few weeks, has become a pretty important day here in Bloomington for a lot of different reasons. We'll have that for you. Plus, as we've been doing pretty much the last few weeks throughout the Summer Paris Olympics, we'll give you an update on that, especially on the basketball side, because, man, what a scare it was yesterday for the United States. Well, it's no secret that in Mike Woodson's few years here, when he was hired back in 2021, it has been a roller coaster of a ride. You've had some good years with good teams that made the tournament that kind of disappointed. And then you had a team a year ago that I thought was pretty talented. Yeah, you had some injury problems throughout the year, and there were a couple of guys that just didn't pan out to what you wanted them to be. And you missed the NCAA tournament with what I thought was a pretty decent roster, a roster good enough to make the NCAA tournament, and you didn't get there. And we all know that that's not acceptable for this fan base. That's not acceptable for the program, for the state, anything. And that was not cool. That was not okay. And so all of that combined, it confuses a lot of people, and it leaves them confused because I feel that a lot of people don't know how to feel right now. They're in between a lot of different emotions. And I'm talking about you, the Indiana fan base. There's some of you that you want to continue to give them a chance. You want to hold on and see what happens. The recruiting has turned up, but that's got to be successful. We'll get to that in a second. And there's some of you that are starting to lose hope, starting to lose faith, and not really trusting him to actually turn this thing around. Then there's a very loud portion of you in the fan base that are like, nope, I'm done. He's out. He's not good. He's not going to get it done. I called this when we hired him. It wasn't happening. This was a terrible idea. Let's go ahead and cut the cord now and move forward, which is where a lot of you stood at the end of last season, right? Where there was a lot of speculation on his job was up in the air. And so if he was already getting questions last year, at the end of last year, whether he was going to keep his job or not. Remember, Indiana came out and said he's not leaving, or, all that type. That was a whole crazy situation. Then absolutely, Mike Woodson is on a hot seat going into this season, especially if you miss the NCAA tournament again. And I think there's an asterisk by that hot seat because I think it, as it always does, it depends on the results, right? With this roster and this team that he currently has, it's the best one he's ever had at Indiana, which I know he hasn't been here long, but it goes without saying it's the best roster that he's had. And so if you repeat last year and you are 500 all the way through, you're middle of the pack in the Big Ten, you get eliminated early in the Big Ten tournament and you miss the NCAA tournament, then yeah, there's a decent chance that Indiana lets him go. And look, I hate coaching changes. I do. I hate to see people get fired, and I hate to go through that process and have to restart everything, wipe the slate clean. And that's on everything, mainly recruiting. your current roster and recruiting, which is where you would have to completely reset. And I mentioned recruiting, and I'd get back to it. Think about where Woody and this staff are right now with a lot of the big name players in the state of Indiana. They're trying extremely hard to get this state back to where it belongs, which is right here in Indiana. And they've made a ton of progress. Now, I think that has a lot to do with him being on the hot seat too. They're in for all of these guys, Jalen Harrelson, Braylon Mullins, Moreno. I mean, all these guys that we've continued to talk about here on Locked On Hoosiers. But if you strike out and don't hit any of them, or just bring in one guy again in high school recruiting, and we love the ones we've brought in, but we got to have more, then that's going to already feed into the, well, if this season doesn't go well, he's definitely gone now because there's nothing coming in behind him. You see what I'm saying here? They all play off of one another. But if he does land some big-time recruits and the recruiting class is what we expect it to be and what we understand and has the potential to be, then, yeah, I think he'll have a little bit more leniency on the floor. But missing the tournament this year is not an option. I'm going to put that out there plain and simple. That's not an option. If he misses the tournament, I say he's gone. I say he leaves. I say we move on and we cut this experiment short and we move on and just take our losses. If you make the tournament and you have an early exit first weekend, right, first or second round, depending on how good this team looks and how good they're playing at the time, that may not even be good enough. You see what I'm saying here? This is an historic program with historic traditions that expects to win at the highest level. And if you don't do that for 4 years in a row, then we have a problem. Then we're getting into trouble territory, which is why I think there are a lot of people, including ESPN, who included this in their little preview article, the biggest storylines and headlines going into this season. Here's what they wrote. Quote, Mike Woodson, two-time All-American at Indiana in the 70s and 80s, understands the assignment in Bloomington. He was hired in 2021 to turn the Hoosiers into national title contenders again, but that has not happened, and this fan base is getting antsy. Indiana has 5 national titles in its school history, is 31-29 in the Big Ten under Woodson, who is now facing hot seat talk. He'll now have to perform under pressure, albeit with his best roster to date, which includes Umar Ballo. So it's not just me. It's not just you. I think the outside world of college basketball notices what's happening here. And they notice that we as Indiana fans and Indiana people are not pleased with what's happened so far. That can all change with a big recruiting class and a very successful season on the floor for Indiana basketball this year. And so is Mike Woodson on the hot seat? Yeah, I'd say so. But it only takes one good year to take him off of it and to prove to us we're going in the right direction and that he has truly built a program that's prepared to win in the future. Well, coming up on Locked On Hoosiers, we will take a look at why August 31st has become a really, really big day in Bloomington, and I think it could be a lot of fun. We'll talk about that coming up next on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. I love sports, and I love them so much that I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs are over and the summer is in its last little bit, right, we get fewer and fewer games, and the sports just aren't sporting like we want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. If any of you hopped on the White Sox train, it finally ended. They won a game, and then they lost the very next night. That losing streak was, it was miserable to watch. But hey, if you hopped on that train, you probably won a lot of money on FanDuel. They won that game to end the streak. They lost the very next night, and then they fired their manager. So, hey, maybe you bet on the manager to get fired there. I don't know. FanDuel's got it all. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Welcome back to Locked On Hoosiers. Thank you so much for being here, making this your first listen each and every day. A reminder that this show is free to you every day, however you get it. Audio, video, it doesn't matter. This show is free to you every single day. So if you're looking for an easy and free way to support the show, if you're on YouTube, like the video, comment down below. Is Mike Woodson on the hot seat? Does Mike Woodson survive after this season? You tell me what you think in the YouTube comments down below. Also, be sure to hit our show logo and subscribe to the channel. That's the easiest way to support the show and become an everydayer and a true fan of Locked On Hoosiers. If you're on audio, you can follow us over there, turn on notifications, whatever you got to do to where you never miss a new episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Well, August 31st has quickly become an important day for Indiana athletics, and it's numerous sports wide. And you look at the calendar as this comes out on Friday, August 9th. We're just a few weeks away from this, folks. We are staring it straight in the face, the start of college football season. And there was an announcement made from Indiana that there's going to be a basketball reunion on August 31st, that weekend of the opening game for college football for Indiana and Curt Cignetti, right? There's a lot happening right here. It says there's an Indiana basketball reunion that is set for Saturday, August 31st. They will, it says they will have an open house for former players at Assembly Hall and a tailgate prior to the season opener for Indiana football on Saturday against Florida International. Says all of the assistant coaches, Mike Woodson's going to be a part of this. There's a ton of former players that are expected to be at this event. And I think this is really, really cool. I do. I think this is a really neat event that is set up for just former players to come back and kind of be together in what is a really important day for Indiana football. It's the opening game. It's opening weekend of the Curt Cignetti era, and it's Florida International, a game that if Indiana shows up and Indiana plays and they do what they're supposed to do, yeah, you're supposed to win this game. But it's cool to see. It's going to be cool to see who shows up, right? Which former players are going to roll in because the Hoosiers have, you got 80 plus players that have played in the NBA across our time. We've got a couple of dudes that can show up and really get this thing going, right? And it's always cool to see reunions, and it's nice to see guys come back. And Indiana's such a special place here, right? Because we love doing things like this. And the people that have been here love to remind people that they've been here. And I love that part of this. And again, it's cool to see a basketball reunion come together, big names, big faces coming in, and I hope representing Cignetti in the Indiana football program, because that is a big day. That's a big, big day because that's when it officially begins the Cignetti era of Indiana football. Yes, I know he's been hired and you've had practices and press conferences and all this stuff, but the first game is when it begins. That's when we get to see what this team is going to become. And side note, I continue to see and hear and be told really good things from fall practice. The fact that the defense is starting to get into a rhythm, into shape a little bit. You've got Curtis Rourke, who apparently is on Heisman list somewhere. I don't know. It's wild stuff, man. I think this team is going to be a sleeper in the Big Ten this season. And I hope that we just surprise some folks. That's all I can say with the football team. But you've got a big group of basketball guys that are going to be on campus for the opening game for Indiana football. And I hope that this becomes just a massive, massive weekend for the Indiana Hoosiers as a whole, not one sport in particular, because I hope you, the fans, show up for the football game and show up for this team and support them all season long. Maybe get access to players and things like that in terms of this reunion. I'm not sure exactly what it's going to be like publicly. I'm not sure how that's going to go, but you will look, fans are going to have an opportunity to just be a part of a really special weekend for August 31st. And if that date rings a bell, if you're an everydayer here, that date should ring a bell, because we just talked about this guy this week on Locked On Hoosiers. Yeah, Jalen Harrelson will be on campus that weekend. That's opening weekend for college football, but that's also when one of the best players in the country, the number one player in the state of Indiana, will be on campus for his official visit, one of his many official visits, his first on that list of his official visits. So you don't think that they're going to take Jalen Harrelson to this little reunion that Indiana's having for all the former basketball players who can tell him how great it is to play at Indiana, how awesome it was for them, former NBA guys that can say, yeah, look what they did for me. Heck, current NBA guys, if they show up, right? You have a chance for that to be a possibility here too. What a perfect coincidence, right? No, this isn't this isn't a coincidence by any means. This is a perfectly planned thing for Indiana basketball. They said, "Oh man, we've got a top 15 player coming on campus this weekend. Maybe we could do like a little reunion of former players and just happen to stop by. Just happen to say hello. Maybe tell them a story or two if you've got one." It's absolutely part of the game plan. And look, this may have been scheduled before and it's just now coming out. I don't have that information, but they are going to work together. I guarantee it. I would put my life on it that Jalen Harrelson on his official visit will make a pass through this little Indiana basketball reunion before being a part of the football game to open up the 24 season. Now, got to have a few things happen. Got to have guys show up for this reunion, which I think they will. And you got to have a good performance on the football field. No pressure, Kurt Signetti, but yeah, we got a basketball recruit we got to get. So, and I talked to you about this later in a previous episode where these two programs, basketball and football, can help each other recruit, right? They can be a part of each other's process to recruit players to Indiana. Success on the football field allows recruits to come in while they're here for basketball, be a part of cool atmosphere, see exciting games, be a part of the fan base, just see how special it is here, and maybe want them to come here even more. Flip side too, for football recruits, come to a basketball game, come see Assembly Hall. That's a place you want to be a part of as a student, as a fan, and as an athlete in that building. So those things can all work together. On this weekend of August 31st, again, there's going to be a Indiana basketball reunion for former players set for Saturday, August 31st. That is the season opener for Indiana football against Florida International, which I'm really, really looking forward to that. And we get closer and closer to it. I see good things. I hear good things. And look, expectations for the football team, we'll have an episode about that before the season gets here, but I just want to look better. I just want to see progress from this team. And if we can do that, especially week one, which it's always tough in week one, it's a crapshoot. You never know what's going to happen, whether you guys are going to truly be ready or not. And whether you're going to be in shape or know the playbook or anything like that. I mean, that's what week one is about most of the time. There's a really big opportunity to get a win, to start the Signetti era, to have a ton of great players, former Indiana guys back on campus for the basketball program, and try to sway the number one player in the state, Jalen Harrelson, to become a future Indiana Hoosier. Well, coming up in our final segment on Locked On Hoosiers, we'll continue to update you on the Paris Olympics, especially on the basketball side, where, yes, the United States survived, but not by much. We'll talk about that in our final segment coming up on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. I've told you this is my go-to ticketing app. I don't use anything else. My sports, music, comedy, theater, whatever you want, check out the Game Time app. They have so many different perks of this app. You have flash deals, so you can save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of your game or event, and their Game Time ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Final segment here on the show. Again, thank you so much. Shout out to all of my everydayers. You are the reason that we are doing so well. And just to give you an updated subscriber count on the YouTube side of things, 2,752. So we continue to climb as we push towards 28, 29, and then 3,000. So thank you so much for that. And we've been doing this for the last few weeks, and we've made a lot of Indiana ties, whether it be the state of Indiana or whether it be Indiana Hoosiers, to the 2024 Summer Olympics. And look, I'm a softie for the Olympics. I am. It comes around once every 4 years, and it's just something that I enjoy. I really, really do enjoy it, and I think it's special. And the basketball stuff has been crazy to watch from the United States. Now, we've known that this team is stacked. And I was quoted as saying yesterday, I did a preview a little bit on the show, that, look, the team's got to win gold, no doubt about it. They just got to do what they got to do, right? Well, Serbia had other options, and Serbia had other plans for this United States team. In case you missed it yesterday, the U.S. decided to play, I don't know, terribly, horribly, horrifically, whatever adjective you want to put in there. It was bad. It was really, really bad with their performance. And going into the fourth quarter, which, reminder, the quarters in the Olympics are shorter than NBA quarters. They were going into the fourth quarter down double digits, okay? They were down by like 17 at one point in this game. And, I mean, it got really scary there for a second. Serbia wasn't doing anything crazy. They were just making shots. They were hitting threes. They were making baskets. The U.S. was turning it over, shooting terribly. I mean, it was just not going well for the United States. And they finally woke up in the fourth quarter thanks to guys like LeBron James, Steph Curry, who had an absolute day, did Steph Curry. He reminded everybody who he is. He had 36 points yesterday as the United States takes down Serbia 95-91. Steph had 36. Joel Embiid actually had 19 points and 7 straight points in the fourth quarter, which was a huge part of the comeback. You got LeBron James, who had 16. Off the bench, you had Kevin Durant with 9. And here's a storyline we've been following for quite some time. 2 of the big names on this team, one from Boston, one from Indiana, did not see a single minute yesterday. Jason Tatum and Tyrese Halliburton. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Like, I understand in crunch time, if you want to trust LeBron James and Steph Curry and Kevin Durant, that's fine. I understand that. But it clearly was not working up to this point with whatever the heck they were trying to do with Steve Kerr as the head coach, which I have thoughts on that, but that's for a different type of show. Why not? When you're getting your you-know-what beat, why not put in Jason Tatum? Why not put in a Tyrese Halliburton right here in our state? Put him in. Give him a chance. He's barely played in the freaking Olympics. It's unbelievable to watch. And it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I think that Tyrese Halliburton is better than a Kevin Durant or LeBron James, but he's on the Olympic team for a reason. Allow him to do what he does, and maybe it changes things up. Maybe you perform better with a change of personnel. I don't know, man. Same thing with Jason Tatum, a freaking NBA champion, is sitting on the bench and watching as the United States almost loses to Serbia. They wake up, they get going, they beat them 95-91 because this team had to will themselves to a win with Joel Embiid, LeBron James, Steph Curry. It was scary to watch, man, but they did win. They did win the game in the semifinals, 95-91. They will now play in the gold medal game against France on Saturday. Yes, it'll be Serbia and Germany who play in the bronze medal game. Gold and silver will be the United States and will be France for that. And an update on the medal count for you, just in case you are curious. The United States has hit triple digits in terms of overall medal count, 103, and China in second with 74. But the U.S. and China continue to battle it out for golds. They are currently tied, as of right now, this morning, tied at 30 in the gold medal count. And we told you there's been numerous Hoosiers that have gold medals, have Olympic medals, have some swimming medals, and stuff like that. So really, really cool to see how there's so many ties to the Hoosiers, to the state of Indiana. And then on the basketball side, since we are a basketball state, the United States going for gold over the weekend. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Thank you so much again for being here. Be sure you like this video and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. It's the free way to support the free show. All right. Do the same thing for me on the audio side. If you're looking for your second listen of today, since this was your first stop, I know it was, go and check out Locked On College Basketball and Locked On College Football. All right. Two of our great shows here at the Locked On Podcast Network. Isaac and Andy at basketball, Spencer over on football. Okay, they're going to get you ready to go for both seasons. Football around the corner and basketball not too far behind it. So be sure you go check them out. And hey, have a great weekend. We'll be back on Monday. Okay, Hoosier fans, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.